Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 59 of the Emergency Storage Shed Cleanout series. Before we go and get something today, I just got a report on a Briggs & Stratton engine that I sold for parts. I parted out a while back. In fact, it was episode 30. We had a look at it and a chat about it and pulled it apart. In episode 39, I recapped on how I was going. I had 14 listings of parts from that engine on eBay. Now, for those that don't know the story, the engine I'd picked up at a garage sale had a big hole through the crankcase. It had blown up. It had been taken out of a ride-on mower. The owner had obviously replaced it with a new engine. And this was actually at the sale for $80 many years ago, and it ended up in my shed. Well, we ended up parting it out. Sold every single part, 14 different parts. There was crankshafts, there was, well, one crankshaft, the head, the charging armature, the carby, lots of other bits and pieces, the camshaft, even the governor linkages. We sold everything and I pulled back $387 in my pocket after fees and postage. $387 for a blown up engine. Now, going in good condition, I would have struggled to get that for a second-hand engine, and it was about 15 years old. So plus we had a little bit of scrap. The crankcase was obviously no good with a hole in it. So nearly $400 return. So if you're interested, I'll put the links for those two videos underneath. An amazing experiment with a very good result. Today, we have to get something else out of that emergency storage shed. We do have a couple of carryover items from the last episode, which we're going to quickly look at. And these two early brass and porcelain electrical switches, I'm just going to value, as far as this episode goes, at probably $5 the pair, because one of them, something's loose in the switch, the other one's actually seized. So as far as our value from that shed, we'll write down $5 for those, but I am going to try and fix them up in a future episode. I'll just do a little restoration. Hopefully we can get them going. Anyway, $5 as far as today's concerned. We also had a battery charger, which we'll test. There was a little Bilge pump. We'll test that shortly. And there was a battery condition tester. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. It has some damage. We might just price it out as it is. But we are going to get something else out of the shed, and we'll go and do that first without any further ado. So I'm not going to shirk my responsibilities. We need to get something out of this shed because that's the law. So the next box, probably that little crate right in the middle. It'll free up a little bit of room here. It looks like we have an old car jack. It's probably a Holden jack, I think. Little tomahawk. That'll be cool. There's a really unusual square funnel. That's cool. Might be homemade. Some large springs. I think these were probably from the backrest or under the seat of maybe a 60s era retro armchair, something like that. We'll probably just sell them as one group. It looks like there's some spanners underneath and some old casters. So we'll get rid of that crate. Given we've got to test out electrical stuff, that we'll probably do in this episode. We'll see how we go. I can't see us getting a lot of value out of here, but then again, there might be a rare spanner in the bottom. But the point of this exercise is not to find a lot of dollars worth of stuff. It's to empty my shed. So we got to process it. It's surprising what value does come out of boxes, and if you've been following this series, it is nearly always surprising what value we find. So we'll unpack this and we'll see what we can find. All right, let's bring you a bit closer here. We'll get these springs out. They're actually different sizes, so I don't really know what they're out of, but we'll just group them up and sell them in the shop in one lot. I don't know, they might be handy springs for springing back a gate, like an automatically closing gate. They're a bit stiff for that, but I don't know. Someone will have a use for them. So there's quite a handful. Now we have one of these gadgets. I had one of these one other time, and I think it's a wire fencing tool from memory, and it certainly looks like it. It's got two holes either side where you can poke the wire through and twitch it around the main wire. So they look well used, and it looks like it's sort of worn it out in all directions. So that would, the wear pattern would suit that use. And this part I think you could use to tension the wire. You could push it onto the wire and twitch it, and it kinks the wire. There's no teeth or anything in there. I think it's just designed to twitch the wire. So I'm pretty sure that's a wire tool. Probably only a $5 item. I might put it in my mystery objects spot in the shop for a while. An early cast spanner here. Doesn't look to be any marks on it, so I don't see much value there unless we find a brand. This one's much the same. I think this does have a brand on it. We'll have to give that a clean up. It might be a Ford spanner. If that is, we'll probably get some dollars for that. 5 or 10 maybe, depending what it says. I like this funnel. It could have even been a school project, you know. It's quite an old one though. It's been soldered. And I reckon a bit of a clean up and we'd easily get $10 for that. The little tomahawk axe, the handle's loose, but it's still almost usable. It's got a bit of a split in it. We need to see if there's a brand on it. That makes all the difference with axes. People do collect them. And yeah, I can't see anything on. Oh, I think there's something written there. We better give that a clean up. Hopefully it's a good brand. They're sometimes German or sometimes English. That's an interesting tool. Now, I don't know what that is. It's almost like a blacksmith type tool. It's been well used. It's mushroomed out a bit at the head there. I don't know what this part does. Or this part. So that's a mystery on me. We'll clean it up and see if there's any marks on it. Looks like there might be some initials ground into it. And possibly that side too. But I honestly have no idea what sort of spanner that is. So, well, it's not a spanner. What sort of hammer that is. Let me know if you know. I'll try and do some research. But yeah, I'd probably put $10 on it just because it's very unusual. Oh, we have an N. That would be a letter from an early Holden. 60s or 70s era Holden. I think I've got some other letters at the shop. It's still got both the pins on it. And I think they sell for around about $5 each. Given that the pins can break off, this one still looks quite good. Some random sockets. I don't think they're going to be of much value. Very rusty. Probably going to be just scrap metal ones. Yeah. One more spring. The casters are quite corroded. They still roll okay. I do have a box of casters in the shop from a recent video, and I have been selling a few sets. I just put them in the box at $5 per set. I think we'll give these a bit of a clean up. They haven't seized or anything. They're still quite functional. We might get $5 for those if they're cleaned up. I don't know if this has been homemade. It looks like a file handle and someone's jammed an Allen key in there. Possibly homemade. I guess it would work well. You get lots of leverage on your Allen keys. Probably just in the $1 box. A very rusty Sid Chrome spanner. Just a common sizes. Again, Sid Chrome sells okay. But yeah, they might struggle to make 5. We'll see how it cleans up. Now I think this is a Holden jack. And I think I've actually got the drive arm for it out in the shed. Or in the carport. And they usually sell okay. So we might get $20 for that. It feels like it works okay. They're not a hydraulic jack, they're just a screw type jack. And that's working fine. I'll check the prices on that. We will give it a bit of a clean up. It's probably about $20 there. A pair of hinges. These are the sort that you would have on a nice old box. Yeah, they're good hinges actually. I reckon, again, we'll give them a quick clean up. I think we'd probably get $10 a pair for those. We'll leave them looking rusty and old because that's what they are. But we'll just clean them up a bit. Very nice. A pair of pliers here that aren't seized, surprisingly. And again, we need to see if there's a brand on them. They actually don't look in too bad a condition. So we might get 5 for those, particularly if we can find a brand. And this is part of an early horse harness. I think these attached somewhere on the harness or the saddle type area on old bullocks and draft horses, and yeah, I think the reins went through them. So it would have been a nickel plated brass or something. Not sure if it's got any individual value. It could just go in the brass bin, but it's only worth a matter of cents for brass, so I reckon we might put a couple of dollars on the shop. That's it. That's all we've got in our crate. The crate itself is a New South Wales bottle company. So we might have a chance of getting $5 for the crate. Certainly the bottle collectors in New South Wales might like a crate, so I reckon we'll give that a quick wash up. We'll get 5 for the crate as well. All right, I'm going to wash up these things. We'll get back to you on some prices with the list, and then we'll test the electrical stuff from last episode. Actually, before we get onto that stuff, which I have cleaned up just in that instant while you weren't looking, let's deal with the electrical stuff, then we'll get the notepad out. So I've made a decision on the battery load tester or condition tester, and it's also an alternator generator check. I had a look online, I couldn't really find any. This one's pretty rough, and unfortunately the gauge or the plastic cover of the meter there is broken. The terminal's broken off the wire here. It's very light, so there's no big chunky transformer in it. It's probably some sort of resistive network where you can load the battery and read off the meter what condition it's in. I'm not going to worry about trying to fix it up. There's a lot of modern equipment that does the same job nowadays, and it's relatively cheap. I'm just going to put it in the shop like that and save me the time of trying to test it. I don't have a handy battery here. I'd have to take it out to the car. I'd have to rig up a terminal. Next thing, an hour's gone, and I probably haven't got much value because it's still broken. So I'm going to put it in the shop just for $10, just as a vintage piece of test equipment. Someone may well fix it up down the track. So save myself a bit of time. We'll just put $10 on that one. The battery charger is an old school, it's not a smart charger. It's 8 amps RMS. It's an Arlec brand, which are well known. The ammeter looks okay. The needle moves. I will test it. It's nice and heavy. It's got a good solid transformer in it. And they're quite sought after. These are great chargers for doing electrolysis cleaning, which you can't use a smart charger for. So I'll plug it into my portable appliance tester in a second, and we'll see if we get 12 volts out of it. We'll see if we get some current draw on the meter. And rather than get my multimeter out to test it, we might as well hook up this 12 volt bilge pump and see if this has any life in it. Of course, we won't want to run it dry for very long. If it does spring to life, I might just get a little pan of water and just see if it actually pumps. These things are still available new. They're quite a good brand. I think they're around about $50 to buy new. It's clearly secondhand. It's had silicone around the wires, but it may well still be in good working order. And if it does work okay, we're sure to get at least $10 for it, and it's really easy to test it. So first things first, let's plug the battery charger in. Okay, I've put you guys in a little tripod there. We will plug into the appliance tester. We'll connect up the earth probe. It should have an earth. It's a metal case. It's not double insulated. And we'll keep the connectors there apart, and we'll turn it on. And it made a buzz and the ammeter flickered. I was a little concerned for a second. The ammeter needle went down very hard, but I think it's okay. And what does our meter tell us? It's a pass as far as safety goes. The earth isn't connecting. Just relocating the earth clamp here, because sometimes with a painted case you don't get a very good connection. We'll take that clip off. We'll just try it up in the handle area there. Okay, I'm not getting an earth. My meter isn't registering that we have a good earth connection, which is a little bit of a concern. And you may have noticed I haven't actually touched the case. So we may have to take the case off and just see why we're not having an earth. I can hear it humming, so I think the transformer's okay. Let's just see if we have any power at the little test clamps here, the alligator clips. No. Oh yes, we do. Yes, a little bit of rust on them. So that's a good sign. Got a few sparks. The ammeter's jumping to life. So that's good. The charger appears to be working. We will power up the bilge pump shortly, but I don't want to touch that case until I've checked out why we don't have an earth. It could be just a dirty or a rusty connector I'm trying to test on, but I'm still not getting an earth even wobbling it. So we'll turn this off, we'll remove the plug, and I'll take the cover off and we'll have a quick look. It's only 2 screws underneath to remove the cover. Just some self-tappers. Okay, a cover should slide off. Not Not sure which way, off the back probably. It's putting up a little bit of a fight. What's going on? That's it, yeah, just the plastic brackets from the handles we're catching. Okay, what do we got going on here? Just a nice big solid transformer. Alright, there's our earth wire. So it comes in from the main lead, and it looks like it's soldered to a tab on the case. So I might just get my multimeter. We'll make sure we have connectivity from that earth wire there back to the earth pin on the plug, because there's a chance there's a wire broken in the cord. But maybe also the solder isn't making a very good connection. We better check that first with the meter. We'll go around to continuity check. Yep. Righto. Earth pin on the... Oh, the earth pin's very dirty. Maybe that was the trouble. Maybe we didn't have a connection from that into our appliance tester socket. That's probably likely. So we should be able to clean those pins up fine. But let's just see if we have continuity through from that earth pin. Yeah, we do. Alright. And then while we're at it then, let's see if we have it to the screw I was trying to earth onto. Yes, we do. So I think it's just that was so dirty and it's a little bit corroded. Not badly, it's just a lot of muck on there. I reckon we just didn't have a good connection where we plugged it in the socket. I'll clean that up, we'll try it again. Okay, I've moved you back a bit so you can see it all. I've cleaned the pins up just with a wire brush and they've come up fine. So let's plug it back in. We'll leave the cover off for the moment. And we'll connect our, or we'll run our earth wire around here. We'll turn it on, make sure these alligator clips aren't touching. Okay, that's back on. And we'll try on this screw where I tried before. And yes, now we have a pass. Can you see on the meter there? Not sure if you'll be able to read that or not. But it says that the earth is a pass now. So that's all good. We've got to check these things out. It could have been possible that the wire was broken, and then if we had had it short, the metal case would have been alive. So that's why we've got to check out the earth situation, especially on something that has a metal case. Alright, so that's all good. Happy with that's in good operational condition now. Can't see any other problems inside, and it passes the safety tests, so I can actually tag it now. I'll put the cover back on, and then we'll check our little water pump. Okay, back together. We'll turn it on. Yep, I can hear it humming. And we'll hook up this pump really quickly, just dry, just to see if we can get a noise out of it. So we can have a negative. These are pretty rusty, but hopefully we'll get a connection. And our positive on here. There we go. Makes a bit of a squeaky noise. It's probably pretty dry. We'll get a little container of water and see if it runs nicer with some water in it. Okay, conveniently it rained the other day and this plastic tub was out the side, and now it's got just enough water in it. So it just sucks up through the bottom of the pump. So we should be able to sit there. I think we've got enough depth there. Hopefully the walls of the tub are high enough that I don't spray water all around my workshop. But I don't think this little pump produces that much. Well, actually 360 GPH, I guess that's gallons per hour. Yeah, not sure. All right, let's hook up our wiring here. And just see what happens. Oh, there we go. Whoa, she does move some water. Well, that's running pretty good. Yeah, actually there's not quite enough depth in this tub. It's running out of water. So it moves quite a volume. Still got a bit of a squeak to it, but it's certainly in working condition. Let's prop the tub up one end so we have a little bit more depth. And we'll just try that again to see if it is quieter with some more depth of water. Negative, positive. Yeah, that's going fine. Let's quieten down a bit. Actually, that's going great now. Geez, it moves some water around. You know, I think I'll put it in the shop for $10 and see how we go. I reckon we'll get $10 for it. As I said, they're not cheap to buy new, these things. Very good. And that brings us to the summary of this unboxing, and we certainly had a variety of different stuff in this one. Let's go straight to the notepad. Who was thinking over $200? Went pretty well, I reckon. Now, there's a couple of good things. I did a bit of checking. The switches, I told you I was going 5, but we will try and fix those up. I just put $5 on all those springs. Look, I could put them in a box for $1 each, and they'd probably make a lot more, but we'll see how we go there. So $5 is a lot better than scrap price. Fencing tool, $5. That spanner wasn't a Ford one, it was a GMH one, and it actually says equip. It's a bit hard to read it. And there's a GMH symbol down one end. I think that's probably US. I just put $5 on it. The square funnel, 10. The Tomahawk hatchet did clean up quite nicely. I actually put a wedge in the handle, so it's tightened it up. It's a high test. They are quite collectible. This one doesn't have any chips to the blade. It hasn't been abused around the top. Some of them get used as wedges. And it's actually got forged tools on this side. And there's another number there. It's probably the weight. So I saw a few high test Tomahawks, or hatchets as they're called, sell on eBay. The bigger ones get good money as well. I put $40 on that one. The unusual hammer tool, I did some research on that and I drew a blank. So if any of you have any ideas, let me know. It looks blacksmith made. There are some initials. I think it says TH. Someone has just ground them in with a, I don't know what they've used. Maybe even a chisel. But anyway, that would have been the owner's initials. It's had some beating around the side. It's too heavy to be something like I thought it might have been a horse tool for prying mud out of their feet or something, but it's too heavy for that. And the hammer part's way too heavy for hammering horseshoe nails in, and it has flared out, and you won't get that with that sort of operation. Perhaps it has something to do with blacksmithing. I'm not sure what this is for. It could be to fit a large square nut, and you could use it as a spanner. I'm totally at a loss with that one, so feel free to chime in. I've put $10 on it, but I don't know any more about it than what I've just discussed. The Holden N, $5. The Casters, $5. Pretty well. I went for $3 on the Sid Chrome spanner. It did clean up quite a bit better, and it is actually Whitworth. And I've mentioned before I do sell Whitworth spanners quite okay, but it's lost a lot of its plating. The Holden jack and the handle. Well, I found the handle. I don't think this handle actually came with this jack, but it's the right one for it. It has the square drive section on this end that fits in there. And you also use it to slot in this part so that you can slide the jack right under the car and then you can pull it out again. So that's what the square section does. It has a little slidey piece here, for want of a more technical term. And when you straighten it out, it actually hinges. That locks the joins so it's nice and straight. So the handles are actually harder to get than the jacks. I've had quite a few jacks over my time, and I think it's late 60s, early 70s Holden. It's a 3-stage, kind of like a bottle jack or a screw jack. So complete with the handle, I think $50 is more than achievable. I've seen them sell for a lot more than that on eBay, and the handles must be a nightmare to post. So that was pretty good. The hinges 10, pliers 5. I called that a Rains eyelet. I'm not sure if that's technically correct. I thought we'd try 5 on it. And the other thing is just as discussed. I thought we'd go $30 on the old school battery charger because they are quite sought after, and I'm not sure you can actually buy something that does the same thing these days. Because if you want to set up an electrolysis cleaning tank or use it where it does draw quite a lot of current, this will handle it, whereas a modern smart charger thinks it's a direct short and it turns itself off. And the Bilge pump, as I mentioned, I'll try for $10. So there we go, over $200 from that little box lot and a few carryover electrical bits. And that takes our total to almost $9,800 out of that emergency storage shed. And I thought I did a recent video where I did those old rim locks, and we thought we'd keep the nice early Carpenter. It was an 1830s Carpenter lock, and I thought I'll do a restoration on it at some stage, and I'll put it aside. I didn't include that. You know, I could probably get $100 for that just as it is. So I think this figure's pretty conservative. We've sold lots of stuff. I'll put this in the shop this weekend, and we'll probably sell a fair bit of it fairly quickly. Good return from that shed. I hope you're enjoying this series. We'll be back to another one very shortly, because this will probably go out Sunday night, and it's actually for the previous week. Got to do one every week, so there'll be another one coming very shortly. Catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.